things like program costs. We talk about participation costs. We talk about systems costs. All those numbers have to be evaluated, determined what they are for the city of Gardner. So there's an analysis that's done called a marginal cost analysis that looks at what our costs are and then compares that to what the cost-benefit analysis is of bringing programs forward. So that is part of the learning curve that the program administrator is going to have to get up to speed on. And we did not want to say to the program administrator today what they need to do. We thought we'd leave it to the program administrator to come back and say, here's what I'm doing for an evaluation. But we gave them suggestions within that about the different types of costs that are available to do cost-benefit analysis with. But again, he's going to, whoever that is, he or she is going to have to get up to speed on the best practices within an integrated resource plan process.
I guess my final question on this is probably more of a city-centered question. What is the, I'm assuming that in discussions I've heard of late, we're talking about, you know, this new organization that you were speaking about earlier, Dave. There's going to be some kind of a utility board, correct?
Right.
So what's the role of the utility board going to be in helping to administer this plan?
I can only speculate. I know the ordinance to appoint or create this utility board is still a work in progress. But I imagine the utility board would serve in a very similar capacity for all utilities as you all are for the electric utility.
I can speak to that a little bit. I was going to bring it up later anyway. I actually met with city admin and had a conversation about those types of things. And as soon as a director for the utilities is found, the overall, the top level person, then there's going to be more work as to what the new board is probably going to be a commission, thus far where they're at. And how that's implemented is yet to be determined. So that new utility director is going to have a lot of input in that. And then between his or her input, the city admin's input, hopefully our input, and the city council, they'll figure out exactly, they being the city council, how they want that commission to be structured. And then that group, that utility director will be reporting to, not from a standpoint of evaluation in the city, but for recommendations. So that utility director would be gathering information on this, and maybe they're the program administrator for this. Maybe they appoint somebody, maybe it's the city admin, it's all up in the air. And then that compliance engineer would, of course, be keeping tabs. We would have to bring it up as a business item to discuss with that utility director these type of details. But it's still all up in the air as to what that commission's going to be and when it's going to be and what that utility director, where they want to go with it.
I would assume that you guys are going to be asked come January for some budget authority in the 2016 budget to implement some demand-side management tasks, whether they're just educational pamphlets, whether they're energy audit, home energy audit funding, those types of things. So I'm assuming, at least our plan is to assume that whoever is administering this program will come to you guys in January, February, March, your budget cycle period, and request funding for implementation in the 2016 cycle. And so I'm assuming that that's how that first year process would occur as far as involvement of the commission/board.
Yeah, everything is a domino effect based off when we get that director. Mm-hmm. And last I heard, they wanted to have that director identified by the end of this month and sent out final interviews and had one selected so that they could come in October, possibly November. So the sooner the better, because there's a lot to get up to speed on, and by then it'll be 6 months without one. Obviously we have an interim, but I mean there's knowledge transfers, new structures, what do you wanna do with this? Well, I don't know, I just got here. So, that person's gonna have a lot of work to do the first day.
Are you gonna talk about the supply side issue on your agenda? Is that on the agenda? KMEA study or anything?
I was just to pick that up as part of project updates.
Okay, all right.
That was my last question.
Okay.
Thank you for all the work you've
Sure,
done.
no problem.
So, at this point, it seems to me that we would need to make. Go
Mr.
ahead.
Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the recommendation of the city council, approve by resolution the initial 5-year plan substantially as written in the final draft dated July 30th, 2014, for submittal to the Western Area Power Administration.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank Greg and
Thanks,
Tony
Greg.
for putting
You
a
bet.
great program together.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Good job.
See you. You bet. Have a good one.
Thanks, Greg.
You bet.
Discuss year-to-date budget.
I think the main thing, once again, kind of looking at, this is based on May data. If you move forward to July data, which was not available at the time, Amy assisted in putting this together. And overall, revenues are running as of the end of July at 55% of estimate versus the 58% of the budget year. Expenses, let's pick up an overall. Expenses just for the different divisions, overall, administration's at 22%, generation's at 60%. Of course, the bulk of that is in power purchases, we're moving into summer, and distribution is at 38%.
Are items in the administration still yet to come to get us caught up? Or are we below, under budget because we don't have Janet's position, refilled?
It's,
And I believe it's been eliminated.
yes, there are 2 administrative assistants.
Right now,
positions
Amy's.
left. Amy's is still in, and then then one from water wastewater's included,
Okay, none of that.
as I recall how that's working. But yeah, the administration, there's no staff on administration, so yeah, that's why it's so low. My payments are coming out under outsourced services, but that's really all that's coming out of administration, plus a phone bill.
Right, okay.
But then distribution is somewhat low because we still have the $125,000 for the parking lot that hasn't been expended. So there's still some big expenses for that.
In generation, we haven't started any payments, at least to Mr. Fish, right?
Actually, we've been doing some work with Bill. We finally got his contract approved. The contract is set up with a $10,000 maximum. He bills at the rate of $200 per hour for phone support. He's helped David on a couple of items, David and Evan. We've had some wiring issues, which we can get into in a bit, for the generators, and he's been advising on that. We also have 2 projects we'd like assistance on. One is to replace the PLCs and the control system. The other one is to replace the fuel regulator. So he'll be basically giving us budget estimates for the fuel regulators and then help us get started on the PLC replacement.
So he'll just be phone support, Dave and the guys at the
Correct.
station will be doing it.
Right. Should we need to bring Bill in for anything, that would be an additional contract. It won't be part of this. We'll just have to.
And that'll work, probably wait until the summer's over with.
Yes.
That's right, yeah. Still in running season.
Correct.
Okay. Any questions, comments? Okay. Let's move on ahead to project updates.
Okay, hold on, let me make sure. I seem to be losing my ability to keep track of papers.